This is NJN, the New Jersey Channel. WNJS, Camden.
In an effort to bring the war closer to the Japanese homeland, on February 19th, 1945, American military forces began an amphibious assault on Iwo Jima, a tiny island 660 miles south of Tokyo. The campaign was expected to last only a few days, but Iwo Jima became the bloodiest battle in Marine Corps history.
I had lots of friends who were killed on Iwo Jima, and close friends. And it bothers me that, you know, this has been one of the first times I really talked about this. Even, it took me years before I didn't talk about this to anybody, you know, because it's just something you didn't talk about.
I got a lot of respect for John Wayne. But John Wayne and Iwo Jima in sands of Iwo Jima is not the way it was.
We thought it was the end of the world. I mean, there were a lot of dead Marines everywhere.
I'm being very candid about this. If you were wounded, and not seriously, but wounded enough to get off the island, you were very fortunate. Because if you stayed, you were going to die. And that's exactly what you're thinking about, scared to death most of the time. And anybody that says they're not has got to be psychotic.
The total casualties during 36 days before the final victory at Iwo Jima, the Marines suffered 25,851 casualties, of which 6,821 either died or were missing in action.
I don't know, maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but I always felt the guys that died have a right to all the honors they can get. But by God, the guys that lived through it were there to get killed, and if the cards didn't fall that way, it wasn't their fault.
It bothered me tremendously. It does to this day. I'll never forget each and every one of them exactly how they died. You just don't forget things like that. I don't anyway.
That was my baptism of fire. I was in 2 other wars, and in combat more than once in both of those wars. But nothing stands out like the Battle of Iwo Jima did.
This documentary is dedicated to the 110,000 men and women of the 5th Amphibious Corps and to the families and friends who prayed for their safe return.
I really wanted to enlist the day after Pearl Harbor, but I was only 15 years old, and I was engulfed in the same wave of patriotism that sent thousands of men to the recruiting offices all over the United States.
The Japanese were our enemies. They attacked Pearl Harbor. Germany was France and England's enemy. And they had sunk some of our ships, but only because we were sending stuff to France and England. And we needed to whip our enemy, and I'm glad I was in the Marine Corps and I fought our enemy.
Now, the fourth war loan drive is on, and nobody can afford to buy that extra suit or that extra dress or those unrationed shoes. But what's more important is that we can all afford to buy those bonds. Let's all back the attack.
We might have shown you a bit from our command performances starring Bob Hope.
Lana Turner, Deanna Durbin, and Marlena Dietrich with Jenny Sims and Virginia Widener. On stage, a song from Eddie Cantor. Hedy Lamarr hands out autographs.
I wasn't going to give my business to the Army or Navy because I really felt that the Marines had the best looking uniform of anybody, and you know those posters out in front of the post office says the Marine wants you? That sucked me in.
Well, I had an uncle that was in the Marines, and he said it was a great outfit, so what could I do?
When I reported in to the colonel of the post in Camp Gordon Johnson, he said, "Have you ever seen a duck, Lieutenant?" I said, "No, sir. And I've seen them duck hunting, but not these kind of ducks." And with that, a great big vehicle went by, a big truck with a boat body on it, and it had a colored soldier driving it. And he said, "By the way," he said, "are you prejudiced towards colored people?" I said, "No, sir, I'm not. As a matter of fact, sir, I don't know any colored people." And as a result, he said, "Fine, we'll put you with a colored unit." I said, "That's great. Good opportunity."
As far as the patriotic part is concerned, I never thought about it one way or the other. I felt it was my duty as an American to go, but like I said, if they had left me alone, I would stay at home, to tell you the truth about it.
At Camp Gordon Johnson, they had a lot of civilian employees, which of course had their prejudices were born with them. And particularly when they went to get on the GI bus, they wouldn't take colored soldiers. And so we had a run-in over that, and I got all the bus drivers fired.
The floors in our barracks were sand. We had a catwalk to come to the beds, and of course when we went to bed at night, sand. This was part of the training because we were going to Iwo Jima. We didn't know it at the time, and I didn't like it. It was a low point of my life.
So we called them in all together, and I told them, I said, I want you to know that the Marines only want the best, and that we are the best amphibious truck company there is, the Army has to offer, and they have selected us to be part of their group. Now, I think that's a terrific honor, and nobody cheered. It was, but it wasn't.
From ship to shore, that's the basics of it. From whatever ship is out there that needs something brought into land, and up on the beach, that's what our job was to do. Whether it was troops or whether it was some equipment.
After boot camp, I had volunteered for Carlson's Raiders, and we were out there for, probably 3 weeks. And believe me, that's no place to be. That's a suicide. They were training you to kill your own mother. And one day they told us that they couldn't really handle all of us there, and some of us would have to be reassigned. I hope I'm called off for this.
Well, I was hit on Guam, and they sent me back to Hawaii. I assumed I was going to go home. I had 18 months overseas at the time. But, you know, the best laid plans, they tend to go amok, so they sent me back to my outfit.
And they called me off for the tank battalion. Oh boy, I get to ride. Went over to Jack's farm, and well, the mud was about 4 feet deep, and we were living in tents, but it's a lot better than Carlson's Raiders, I'll tell you.
I know that my original squad was gone. Everybody was dead except myself and another guy. And he was wounded on Guam, the same hole I was, and he killed himself later on. Emotional problems.
When I joined the outfit, they was already formed and had their things, and we're like replacements coming in. And being like one of the youngest, and 6 months is a big difference in age. You know, it's like you're the younger brother. We don't even want you around.
They were bringing people in from all over the country, and just masses of brand new Marines, and some Marines from guards and stations, and very few officers, and very few non-coms, and utter chaos.
It was made up of people who had experience on Guadalcanal, Vella Vella, Chaucel, Bougainville, Macon, Midway, places like that.
One by one, the Japs were losing the islands they had grabbed. This was the island of Tarawa on November 20th, 1943. It was a hot fight, bitter and deadly.
That was the nucleus. The bulk of the organization were non-combat experienced people like myself.
Every practice landing we made, we landed on a beach, and we made a left turn. After advancing a couple of 100 yards into the beach, we made more or less a left flank. And then we always got to climb a hill, and nobody knew why. But about 3 months later, we found out why.
We get orders to ship out, and we sail out of Pearl, and about 2 days out, Colonel Butler came on the speaker system of the ship and told us of our destination, that we were going to an island called Iwo Jima, and that Iwo Jima was the island closest to the heartland of Japan than any other battle. And there was a kind of a stunned silence.
Iwo Jima had been targeted as a potential landing point in the summer 1943, as that early as an intermediate step, getting closing in on Japan, and through this idea of island hopping and breaking the concentric rings of defense that Japan had set up. The idea was that they wouldn't be basing bombers out of Iwo Jima so much, but there would be an intermediate point, one to provide bases for fighter escorts, which did not have the range to fly with the bombers all the way from Saipan. The other advantage of seizing this midpoint was also to provide a landing strip where crippled aircraft or damaged aircraft could land, which would not otherwise make it all the way back to Saipan.
Iwo Jima, I had never heard of it. It was an island. And so I was going to get to go. Before the war ended, I was going to get to do something that I had been trained to do, and I was damn glad, and I was damn proud, and I couldn't have done it with a nicer bunch of guys.
I'd always fought in the jungle before, or a semi-jungle. Guam is kind of a semi-tropical. And this was just a hunk of rock. And none of us could see any reason for taking it, tell you the truth.
On ship, we continued our physical training and thing like that because we were on the ship nearly 40 days, all told, and they didn't want us to lose our physical conditioning.
I slept on the bottom deck because my name was Wolf, and there's only one guy below me, a little Italian named Zoto. And the damn water kept getting us wet. You know, the water would seep in out the bottom, and the bilge pumps would keep it all out.
A lot of people were writing letters home, and for some of these were the last letters they ever wrote, of course. But I had a superstition, if I didn't write home, I'd come home.
There wasn't a lot of talk from the old-timers about what to really expect. You knew there were guys going to be wounded, other guys, not you, but other guys were going to be wounded, and other guys were going to be killed. You knew that.
They had maps of it. They had relief maps. They showed us where we were to go. And like the military, you always have a plan. And like the military, it always goes astray.
When I saw this map of Iwo Jima, after having been on the canal, I thought to myself, my God, when I saw the installations on this map, that was my reaction. My God, I didn't tell my men anything. Just kept it to myself.
The early training, they indicated there was 5,000 to 7,000 Japanese there, and we were explained that this was probably a 5-day operation, kind of like the length of Tarawa.
There had been 72 days of bombing. They had hit it every day and sometimes twice a day. They said this is the biggest softening up that any battle has ever had, and we shouldn't have to worry about anything opposing us when we go in.
We felt that since it was 5 miles long and 2.5 miles wide, and we had so many Marines and we'd been so well trained, we thought that would be a breeze on our way to Japan.
I looked out to the city's 880 ships in a convoy. I know, I go up there and look out and you couldn't see nothing but these ships. Every place you looked at these ships, the ocean was full of them. Then everything was lovely till we got there.
Interesting thing happened just before we were lined up to go down into the hole where the tractor deck was. And our Lieutenant Dreger, John Dreger, shook hands with each one of us as we went down. And it's almost like if he knew something.
But then we went down to the hole to get our last meal, so to speak. We had steak for breakfast. So we come out on deck after having a steak. I thought, well, I don't need his mess kit anymore. I threw it over the side. And some guy says, oh, you can see the island. I said, what's it look like? He says, describing the island, you know, with a flat and a suribachi on the end.
When you climb over that rope and net down the side and that guy, baby, he's stepping on your hands or he's damn rifle shoving in your head. And the boats are going up and down about 20 feet and you try to drop off in it and maybe it's coming up when you're going down and it's a horrible crash. And people fall in there. It's a hell of a mess.
Pretty soon, these great big bow doors open to this LST, and looking through there, I can see the Mount Suribachi. You could hear the clank of the steel against steel as we went out the door, and I know it's too late to turn back because we're Iwo Jima bound now.
Iwo Jima was part of the prefect of Tokyo. The mayor of Tokyo was also the mayor of Iwo Jima. It was part of the township. And they felt that that was the invasion of their homeland.
Yeah, Steve and I were the only ones in the tank that, other than the drivers, that could see what was happening, and we're witnessing one of the greatest bombardments that ever happened to anything.
It's a funny thing, but you know, everybody thinks they're kind of macho. They don't want to show that they are scared to death. And so you tend to light cigarettes up and talk the macho language, you know, I'm not scared, let's get with it and all that stuff. Deep down, you know, they're lying like dogs because you've already been through it yourself.
Oh, the noise was overwhelming. It was just deafening all over because you got 3 battleships and cruisers and every type of ship that could fire anything laying offshore, softening up Iwo Jima. The smoke and dust and debris almost obscured the island. We couldn't hardly see it at times. In my mind at that time, I thought, well, they've probably killed them all, hopefully, and we won't have much of a job to do, but I was completely wrong.
Now, in most practice landings, you're going to get your feet wet. The coxswain always stops short of the beach. But this day, he put that boat clear up high and dry, and when he dropped the ramp, there was black sand. And I don't think anybody had ever seen black sand. I was about 3 rows back, and I'm looking at it, and I think, what the hell is this black sand?
4 guys in a squads in one little group. So the group leader, he said he's going to be first. He's pulling rank on me, so I could only be second.
You have to remember that you're cranked up on adrenaline, which is one of the strongest drugs in the world that your body generates. And, of course, adrenaline prepares you for fight or flight, one of the two.
I wanted to be first, not because I'm brave, but because I knew from other stories that the Japanese always let the first wave get across the beach before they laid down their barrage. So I wanted to be off of that beach as quick as I could. I get about halfway, and this whack, whack, that's the way it sounded, like when they start laying the barrage down. And then I thought, boy, am I going to go deaf from the sound? It was so loud.
This Japanese general waited until we had the 3rd wave had come ashore, and he had a great target, and then they opened up on us. All hell broke loose at that time.
Noise. I don't know if that's even a good description, because noise doesn't fully explain what it was. You know, the plane motors, the naval shells, the machine guns, the mortars bursting, guys hollering at one another. It was just bedlam, of course, right at that point.
I had a pair of 750 binoculars, and hour after hour, I watched landing craft being blown out of the water, tracked vehicles trapped in the black sand on the beach, bodies blown apart and flying into the air.
The shells are literally coming down like rain. There's explosions everywhere. And, of course, being my first time in battle, I didn't know what to be prepared for, and I didn't think it was going to be like this, though.
The other point was that we didn't know about this horrible, horrible 6 or 8 foot deep volcanic ash sandy beach.
When you tried to dig a hole or anything like that, the sand just poured back in it, kind of like trying to dig in a wheat bin. And so we were just laying out there and with no cover at all.
And this is one thing that I don't give a damn how much training you can get. You don't get prepared for seeing your first dead Marine.
My buddy was like from here to that tree a little farther away. He carried a flamethrower, and there was that stretch across the island, and he started zigzagging across. And the next thing I know, that he's nothing but a puff of smoke. I dropped, and what went through my mind, I have no idea. But I do remember taking off, the flamethrower had straps on it. I took these straps and took them off, and they extended out about 2 feet. I took my belt off, and I tied that to the end of that. I took my shoestrings off, and I tied that to the end of that. And it took me 2.5 or 3 hours to drag that thing across that 300 yards, whatever it was. If that thing went up and I was 10 feet away, I might get burnt, but I wouldn't get blown up like my buddy got killed.
The Japanese kept firing at me, and they were getting pretty close to me and kicking dust up in my face. So I rolled over a couple of times and went over next to a guy and said something to him. And he didn't say anything, and I turned to look at him. And his face had been hit. Of course, he was dead.
And Pat came over to me and he says, somebody's guts hit me in the face. And the only thing I could say, what in the hell are you telling me for? You know, I had enough to worry about. I want to hear you horror stories at this time.
I had instructed all my squad people to stay put when there's a bombardment. And he made the fatal mistake of moving. I know he was going for that shelter, but a mortar blast got him in the stomach, pushed his BAL bandolier into him, and he died in my arms when I got to him. You know.
So you were hunting shell holes, any place to stop and sort of organize yourself. Who's where? Where's Chapman? Where's Covington? Where's Higgs? Where are all of these guys, you know?
On the way across, I saw my first Japs about half an hour after we were ashore. They were as scared as I was. Their eyes were this big. I guess mine were too. And before I could draw a weapon on them, they were back into their holes.
And as I look back towards the beach, I can see Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone is up, walking around and telling people to get up, get moving, don't stay here. You know, you're going to get killed on the beach if you don't get going.
The pillbox was pretty well hidden. Or you wouldn't even know it was there until you were right on top of it. And the only thing you could see was the flash, because the Japanese had the smokeless powder. They had better powder than us.
He ran up and ordered me to put my machine gun in action against the target, and I didn't see any target, but by looking down his arm and when the wind blew away, we could see the aperture to a blockhouse or a pillbox.
Naturally, that's where your demolition people and your flamethrowers and Bangalore torpedoes were all used, and a lot of young boys bought the farm trying to get up to those babies too.
I'm young and, you know, not that long in the service, so I didn't know what to do. Then before I knew it, there was a machine gun over here, a machine gun over here, and they both zeroed in on it, and I could see the tracers. I could see the machine gun fire going right into there.
And then the demolition man probably from Corporal Ralph Belt's demolition squad, Basilone directed him to go up to the pillbox with the satchel of composition C2, which is a 10-pound charge. And the demolition man ran up and threw the 10 pounds into the aperture.
And then Peg, he has this flamethrower on his back, 60 pounds of flamethrower, and he's real muscular. And he went right along the fire line there, up there, and put the flame in the pillbox. And then as soon as he did that, he come back and he was really bushed.
At this point, Sergeant Basilone, I realized he was standing astraddle me, and he screamed in my ear something about get the belt.
The next thing I knew was this guy comes up, this Marine comes up and stands right on the top. And he had his buddy up there on top, and they're waving their nose at the Japs down there, and he calls a whole company up on the line. I thought, who the hell is that?
When the Japanese defenders that were in this blockhouse came out, they had napalm all over them and were burning, and they were trying to wipe it from their bodies. And he used the machine gun to mow them down.
Later I find out it was just John Basilone. I thought, he deserves a Congressional Medal. Anybody says he don't deserve it, they're crazy. He's really a Marine's Marine. I mean, he really did it.
Probably at that time, we were the spearhead for the entire invasion. We'd penetrated further into the island than anything.
We crossed the tip of the airfield, and I dug in over there. That was our objective, and we were there.
A little while later, I have no idea the time span now, I could see Basilone leading a group of men across the airport there, and some mortar rounds hit among them and killed John Basilone. For his actions that day, he was awarded the Navy Cross posthumously. And being the only Marine in World War II to win the Congressional Medal of Honor, and the Navy Cross.
Why, the first 3 waves got in.
We have more of this wonderful program, so please stay tuned. I'm Tricia Bowman here with Aileen Byrne, and we need you to become a member right now, so please give us a call. Support NJN and make another year of quality programming possible. NJN needs you more than ever, and if you're someone who appreciates our news and public affairs, our how-to shows and cooking shows, our entertainment programs, well, let's face it, if you love the variety on NJN, then you should pick up the phone and give us a call to say, yes, I love it and I want to become a member. 1-800-722-6588, and make your pledge to become a member right now. Do it within the break so you don't miss any of the show, right, Aileen?
That's a good idea. Absolutely. Let's get rolling, get off the couch and go to that phone, or it's probably right even next to you. So just pick it up. Becoming a member of NJN is like becoming a part of the staff, because really you help produce this great variety of programming and you help make it accessible to people all over New Jersey and beyond. You help teachers teach New Jersey's children and help New Jersey's voters become more informed. So join the family. Call us now at 1-800-722-6588 and become a member today. And Trish, it's really is an extended family too, right? People outside of New Jersey get
Yes,
NJN.
we actually air in parts of New York, parts of Pennsylvania, Delaware, across the whole state of New Jersey. So that's right. You are an extended member of the family. When you become a member, we'd like to thank you with a very special gift, no matter what state you're watching us from. Our operators have all of the information on membership and on the gifts. It's our way of saying thank you for taking a few moments of your time and sharing your support with us. Please give us a call at 1-800-722-6588. Basic membership is $40 here at NJN, and with that you're going to receive the guide, which tells you all about the programming for the month. You'll receive you'll receive those throughout the year, and of course the NJN member card. So you get discounts. So on top of just $40, you're going to actually save money. And if you use the member card a couple of times throughout the year, it actually pays for itself becoming a member of NJN. So there's a deal that you just can't beat. Trust me, right?
Absolutely.
You can trust me.
I can trust you.
I wouldn't
And we
lie.
can trust them to call us and make a pledge, right? Especially since we've made it so easy for you to pledge. There really is no excuse not to. It only takes a minute, and you won't miss a second of your favorite program if you call right now. Of course, you can call later on. We're always here to take your calls and answer your questions. Just call the number on your screen, and one of our volunteers will ask you a few simple questions: your name, your address, your phone number, and the amount of your pledge. That's it. It's as simple as that. But of course, you can talk as long as you want and find out what you get and what you need to pledge to get something even better, or whatever you know. Ask any questions you'd like. Pledges start as low as $40, as Tricia said. And if you're a student or a senior citizen, basic membership is only $24 for the entire year. That's it. It's not only painless and quick, but it will make you feel good. It'll make you feel better about yourself, because you know you'll be doing it for a good reason. You'll become an active part of making NJN possible. You'll be part of our team. You'll be making us stronger. So don't delay another minute. Call now at 1-800-722-6588. And as I was saying earlier, you'll be like a program manager, wouldn't you say, Trish?
Well, in a sense, yeah, because when you call in with the membership dollars, people tell us, you know, what programs that they like, and then of course we send that to the programming department, and then people, hopefully those programs will be looked at more carefully, maybe bought again, and maybe more frequently. So if you do give us a call and you want to tell us what you like, then of course we'd be happy to note that and to let the appropriate person who can actually do something here about it to do that. So when you give us a call at 1-800-722-6588, one of our volunteers will be taking your name and your number and your address and the amount that you pledge and the gift that you would like. We will then send you the pledge form in the mail asking you to write a check and send it back in. It's a very easy process. But if you'd like to skip one of those steps, namely having us mail you that and then you writing us a check and then you sending us the check and, hey, save 32 cents, we have a way for you to do that. All you have to do is just put it on your credit card. So that's when you're calling the 800 number, which of course is no fee to you, it's a fee to us to take that call, then put on your credit card. You don't have to worry about it. The membership dollars will go faster to work for NJN, and you don't have to worry about waiting in the mail for the enrollment card and then sending it back in and writing the check and noting it on your ledger that you wrote a check to NJN for $40 or $50 or $100. You don't have to do that. Just give us the number over the phone, and it goes to work immediately. And there's no check to write out. There's nothing to send back. You just make the call, and then you hang up the call, and then you know that you are right away a member of NJN. It's quick, it's easy, and it's for a very good cause. Call us at 1-800-722-6588 and tell our volunteers you want to support NJN right now. Become a member of NJN by putting the pledge on your credit card. It's that simple, it's that easy. Please give us a call. The number is 1-800-722-6588. It's an easy number. We've said it enough times. I'm sure everybody here has it committed to memory.
That's
so
right.
hopefully they are, and they're giving us a call. And hey, if you want to put it on your redial,
that's
you
right.
Keep calling in and pledging.
Program it, right? You have your 10 most important numbers on there.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Three
sure
times a year you can just hit this one.
They're probably not going to do that, but heck, I just thought I'd mention it.
Why not?
Why
Throw
not?
it out there.
It's an idea.
Absolutely. It's funny that you said, you know, about putting it on your credit card instead of mailing things back and forth, save 32 cents. It sounds like crazy to think about saving 32 cents. You wouldn't even...
Hey, it's a phone call.
But yeah, but it's less, I think it's like less than 11 cents a day to become a member of NJN. So, you know...
So you actually had 3 days.
Yeah, you actually...
With that 32 cents, you had almost 3 days of NJN programming.
If you break this down, it's practically free. It's unbelievable what you get for what you give. The programs you're enjoying today were made possible by viewers, and you are one of those viewers. So have you called in your pledge yet? You don't expect to get phone service for free, right? Or the gas or electric that you have in your home. Why should NJN be any different? We're here for you 365 days a year, providing you with the best in quality programming. In England, there's a tax on everyone's television set, which pays for this kind of programming. Here in America, we don't have a tax. We're on the honor system, so we're giving you this wonderful programming, and we're hoping that you will be honorable and do your part by making a pledge now. 1-800-722-6588. If you don't want to hear the number again, pick up the phone, call us, hang up, and then you don't have to listen to us.
Right. Well, something like that. I'm sure that when you're watching this program, because you're loving this program, that's why you're watching us today,
Right.
that we're going to come back and you're going to say, Tricia, I already made the phone call. I listened to you. I made the phone call. And I'm sorry that if you had made the phone call and you're seeing me again, hey, take a break, go get a drink. This is your time. So go do that if you've already made your pledge. If you haven't made your pledge, then please, on your way to pick up that drink in the kitchen, I know there's a phone in the kitchen. There's a phone in my kitchen, so make that call. We've made it so easy for you to pledge. Really, there's no excuse to do it. And if that was your excuse, I'm not going to buy it, okay? Just call the number on your screen and talk to one of our volunteers. We have a wide array of terrific gifts that our volunteers can tell you about. Pledges can start as low as $40, and we take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. So if you put on your Discover card, I think at the end of the year, you're actually going to be getting back some change. So there's another way to save. Put it on your Discover card, or if you're like me and you just want to put on your Visa, go ahead. Give us a call. Don't delay another minute. Give us a call right now at 1-800-722-6588.
Yeah, not everyone takes Discover, right?
Not everyone does, but we do.
That's right.
We don't discriminate against any credit card.
We don't discriminate against any credit cards or any viewers. Everybody's allowed to watch. Do you know someone who enjoys the programming of NJN as much as you do? This is kind of what I was just joking about. If you want, you can give them a unique gift. Consider giving a membership to NJN in their name. The recipient of your gift will receive the same benefits as any member. A full year's worth of the NJN program guide, access to our members-only hotline, and the NJN membership card, which Tricia was talking about before. It entitles them to discounts at art and cultural institutions throughout the state. This is the kind of gift that keeps giving for an entire year. So it's great. If you donate at the appropriate level, they'll also receive one of the great thank you gifts that you've probably gotten in the past and that we'll be talking about later and we've mentioned earlier as well. It's a thoughtful, creative gift for anyone who appreciates the diversity of television programming that you appreciate. So it's a great idea. Give us a call at 1-800-722-6588. Thanks very much.
Why, the first three waves got in and kind of scrambled around, and then they stopped everybody pretty much at the shoreline. We couldn't use the Navy counter-battery fire because the guys were all over the land. So they had to bring in their own howitzers. So we got the call about 10:30, send in the artillery.
What we could see from the West Virginia was a constant traffic of ships and boats of all kinds coming into the landing beach and going out to the supply ships and the troop ships patrolling out beyond where we were.
What's unusual about the Iwo Jima campaign compared to others is the number of casualties suffered by a variety of combat support units that typically didn't suffer heavy casualties in earlier campaigns. And the reason is precisely because the Japanese had zeroed in the landing beaches.
First problem was we went about 30 yards, and there were 100 or 200 dead Marines everywhere. Myself, I have never touched a dead man at that time. So this Marine lieutenant and I got up off the duck, and we picked up at least 15 to 20 dead Marines and moved them because we weren't going to run over them.
So anything you learn, all the training didn't help. Didn't help in it. The only training we had that helped was how to get the duck out of the water up onto the ground and how to get off of the ground into the water. But as far as saving yourself was concerned, you had to be lucky.
Coming up the beach, they had they had dug this ramp, and most all the other tanks were already up. And, well, we came to this mine right underneath me. I knew we didn't dare stop. I knew I didn't dare get out of those tracks. I knew if I got out into any softer sand, we'd get stuck because the engine wasn't running right. Well, it never went off with those other tanks going over it, so maybe it won't. Of course, they were hollering over the turret over the intercom, "There's a mine, Hank, there's a mine." And, well, when we cleared, they never said another word. But it didn't go off.
Sergeant Wynn, who was a close friend, was put in charge of the beach control. And we were taking the Marine casualties out to the hospital ship. And one of the ducks got out past the breaker line, and the motor conked. And it started to float back. Now we had 7 or 8 Marines on stretchers locked in. And the duck floats back, hits the shoreline, and tips. And all the Marines are hollering, all the wounded, and we're trying to do something. And then the waves recede and it levels up. One more wave and it goes upside down. Joe grabbed the cable from the tractor, went in underneath the duck, and when the wave came and turned the duck almost over, he hooked on, crushed him into the sand, but he hooked it on and they were able to tighten up and hold the duck from overturning. And he saved all those Marines' lives. He got the Silver Star.
The Japanese had rushed reinforcements to Iwo Jima over the summer and fall of 1944 to the extent that the air campaign and the submarines allowed. And they had built their garrison up to over 21,000 men. They were unusually well equipped with artillery and mortars compared to other garrisons that the Americans had encountered in the Pacific. They had eschewed, as part of this defensive plan, offensive tactics. You didn't need tanks, for example, all that much. They weren't going to come out of their entrenchments to attack if they could help it. They were going to hold back, stay as protected as possible, and force the Marines to come at them.
I was in the 3rd Marine Division. We went in the 2nd day. We thought we were going to not have to go because we were told it was going to be a cakewalk. It wasn't going to be too tough, and after all, it was already 2 Marine divisions ashore.
I think they hoped that the bombardment and the shelling would exterminate the defenders of the island. I just don't believe they knew how deep they were buried.
But then we had shore-to-ship radio over the PA system, and we start getting a particular feeling that, hey, it's not going like they said it was going to go. It must be tough there.
What was not known at the time was the maze of caves and catacombs that the Japanese had tunneled into the island. And you have to remember they didn't have any buildings above ground. They had 23,000 men on the island, subterranean, living subterranean.
The only time I ever got sick in the Marine Corps was aboard that Amtrak. The seas by that time had become very rough, and the fumes sitting down next to that motor was unbelievable. So I just, excuse the expression, I upchucked. Then I was all right.
All the fields of fire were predetermined. The island was defended triangularly in depth. I guess that they have a triangle here and here. All these pillboxes are in a triangle, and they have interlocking fields of fire. And they also had interlocking subterranean tunnels that connected them. So when you're attacking one pillbox, they just left that one, went back to another one, and started shooting at you from the other pillbox.
We were back in reserve, and there's a disabled tank over there. And I'm thinking, okay, I'll go in and dig alongside that tank, and I'll have extra protection. Well, the Japs zero in on that tank and start putting some shells down there, and I thought, cross that out, that's a bad idea. Keep as far away from that sucker as you can.
A lot of the infantry guys I knew, and they'll tell you today, that they like to have us come in, do our job, and get the heck out of there. Because wherever we were at, the artillery was coming in.
And we replaced, I don't know what unit, on Motoyama number 1. I never kept up with names or numbers or anything. I just, my little war was right there in front of me and always had been, and that's the way it was going to end.
Didn't even have a chance to get scared or nothing. We were so busy, trying to, do whatever it was to do.
I knew when I was hit, it was like a hammer hitting my hip. And I knew I was in this machine gun lane, and I knew I had to get out of it, and I took another 2 steps, fell forward, and Rodney and J.J. Holt pulled me in. And I remember Holt looked at me, he said, "Ras," he said, "I didn't know you wore glasses."
Every shell the Japanese shot on Iwo Jima could hit something. It was only 5 miles long.
You stood up, and that's when they dropped the 4th mortar. And I looked at this guy, and his face was just a bowl of raw meat. And I couldn't move. I was paralyzed from the waist down. And this guy, I didn't think he'd ever see again. And between the 2 of us, we had to go back through that machine gun firing lane. And he was the locomotion, and I was the eyes. If he'd been panic-stricken, I don't know if I could have handled the situation, because all I could do was tell him where to go. He was the one that provided the motion. And between the 2 of us, we made one damn good Marine.
We were looking for a way to be safe, And I don't like to say, this is another thing I don't like to talk about, was there was a row of little islands like stones out there on that one side. And I thought, hell, buddy, you could swim out there, you're a good swimmer, and hide on that thing till that sucker's over, Well, the Navy put a barrage down, and they just went from one end of those to the other. Getting them, I just crossed that out. That's a bad idea.
You were sent to supposedly a safer area, but there wasn't any safer areas on Iwo Jima.
When we ran out of ammunition, we started throwing hand grenades at them. Now, we ran out of hand grenades, too, and when that happened, when we threw our last grenade, I told John Wright, I said, look, let's get the hell out of here. There's nothing else we can do. And when I said that, the first Jap grenade that hit me in the arms in here, I was seriously wounded. There's no way this Cajun could have gotten back to the front lines. John Riley saved my life.
There is oftentimes a false sense among civilians of warriors as sort of independent actors operating like they see in the movies, sort of in the open and without a lot of interference from the outside. In fact, these divisions are small cities. You're talking about 18 to 20,000 men in a confined physical space. You're talking about units that are jumbled together. Military life in general had no privacy in most cases. And indeed, the borders simply of what we consider normal personal space are violated every day.
As it grew darker, you became more apprehensive because not knowing what the night's going to bring.
Foxholes at night can be a very personal thing. And the amenities of life cease to exist when you're in that kind of a situation.
You were in two-man foxholes, and one slept and while the other stayed awake. And the first night, I hesitate to tell these things about a fellow Marine, and I think he got killed though later. But I woke up and he was asleep. And he begged me, he says, "Don't tell John, don't tell John." I didn't squeal on him. I was too stupid.
All the cans of water had been used for gasoline or fuel oil before, apparently. And before you drank it, you had to kind of skim the oil off the top of it. We had to bring our own water because there was no natural water on Iwo Jima, and the Japanese would later on suffer deeply from this.
There wasn't any front. The Japs would filter through your lines, and they'd be looking for food and water, and then they'd be trying to get back to their caves, and they'd be coming at you from behind.
When we quit firing flares, the Japanese fired them because if we quit firing, they figured we were going to attack.
And he's sneaking along, and I hollered Roosevelt, and I didn't hear anything. The password was a president's name, and the countersign was another president. And I hollered Roosevelt, and I didn't hear anything from him, so I shot him. And I think I hit him. I'm not sure.
I had a foxhole about a foot deep up there in that hot volcanic soil. And I just lay there and looked up at the stars. I was pretty uptight. I was just as frightened as anybody else. And I thought, you dumb fool, come off it. God put you here to take care of these boys. Now do it. After that, it was okay. I don't mean I wasn't frightened, but I was certainly a lot more relaxed and just went about my duty without worrying about whether I was going to get my head blown off or not.
Usually the medics come up, the corpsmen came up with their stretcher teams at night so they could, but they always made sure that all the jarheads knew that they were corpsmen because anybody that moved was susceptible to being shot.
My head went over the edge of the hole, and these guys were down the bottom. Up comes this 45, and I never heard it go off, but I saw it. It shot my helmet strap off. So I rolled over like I was dead, and this kid reaches up out of the hole and he fires 4 more shots. So Mel Lynch is up on this little ridge line. He's a machine gunner. Mel's a red-headed Irishman. He said, "What the hell's going on over there?" And this kid says, "I got a Jap out here." I said, "You got a Jap? Shit." I said, "You got Bud Joyce out here."
In essence, what Iwo Jima required was the perseverance and dedication on battalion level on down of the troops who had to press home the attacks. There was no place to go. There's no room for maneuver. All you can do is keep pressing ahead against the objectives directly in front of you.
Colonel Harry B. Liversedge. They called him Harry the Horse because he was tall, had long legs, and a lanky stride. He was the commander of the 28th Marine Regiment that captured Mount Suribachi and put the flag up there.
I was down in a hole, and Ed says, "Get out, I'll take a picture." So I got out, and he took my picture. And I've got a copy of it. It's a nice picture. And then I said, "Okay, Ed, you hop out of the hole, and I'll get one of you." And, well, he hopped out. Of course, there were shells coming around us, too. And I took the picture, but as I took the picture, I could see the flag going up on the mountain. I said, hey, there goes the flag up on the mountain. And I cut his head off in the picture.
The first one that I interrogated, he was facing Mount Suribachi, and I had never heard the first word that was uttered from his mouth, but I understood the rest of the sentence immediately, and I knew what hata meant even though I had never heard the word. It meant flag, and I turned around, and the flag was standing. And the translation of hatangataturu means the flag is standing.
I looked at that with the binoculars and I thought, wow, that really gave us a lift. I mean, that was really something to know that we had the mountain over there. We didn't have the fire coming from Suribachi and the fire coming from the north or the big main part of the island anymore. We just coming from one direction.
Because when you had people shooting down on you and people shooting down on you from the north end, you were just in a bull ring being shot at from both sides, you know. It's kind of scary. In fact, it was real scary, to tell you the truth.
I think that the feeling was pretty much like my own, that, hey, we got a foothold. We're here to stay.
It was a glorious moment because it was such a key strategic element to the eventual capture of the island 28 days later.
How'd I feel? It was like a rainy, downcast day, and I said, I'll be home pretty soon. I wasn't for another 2 years. Yeah.
The fighting had just begun. We discovered that the worst was ahead of us. We didn't know it at the time.
No patrolling to speak of, because you knew they were there. You didn't have to go out and find them. They were there.
One of the major defensive lines on Iwo Jima was a high spot on the island, on that part of the island. It was called Hill 362A, and the name of it came from being 362 feet high. And this was General Kurabachi's main defensive line across the island, and we ran head-on into it.
Another mortar group that had their gun set up about 25 yards behind our gun, they took a direct hit. Both men were dead. The gun was out. And those two men the next morning were nothing but smoking clothes. You can't believe how pulverized their bodies were. They didn't look like anything human. It looked like a rag bag of clothes that was still smoking. But just the concussion and the force of that explosion just...
There was a concealed cave there, and I gave the signal to Van and Steve to put the gun in action on that cave, and they ran forward and put the tripod and the gun in it and then started opening fire on it, and the Japanese returned the fire and shot Van Konkelberg, Van, through the shoulder and exited out his back, and Steve had just raised up to adjust the belt, and they shot him in the stomach.
We were blind almost. You couldn't see anything to shoot at. They were so well dug in.
I knew from the way Steve was shot that he probably wouldn't make it. As they put him on the stretcher and carrying him away, he'd kind of give me a sign that he would be all right.
Bougainville was a jungle-infested monster, but it wasn't as vicious. You would attack, they would attack, you'd go on the defensive, they would pull back, whereas on Iwo, it's just a matter of slugging away every stinking day.
We were so decimated that the next day the 28th Marines came through our lines and they took over the attack on Hill 362A, and later on they were able to conquer it after a great loss on their part.
One morning, he was over in the bathroom foxhole, and all of a sudden he opened up with his 45, and pow, 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 pow. And of course, anytime that happens, why, we all hit the deck. Finally we hollered over and what's going on, McCarthy, or what's happening? He says, I'm shooting these damn blowflies.
They come up with some 10-in-1 rations, chicken and everything. It was 1 ration for 10 men or 10 rations for 1 man in one big can. And you'd dig down 3 inches in that volcanic sand and pile the sand around it, within 15 minutes, the heat would blow the top of that can off.
Really?
Yeah. You dig a foxhole 3 inches, and you couldn't lay in it because it was so hot.
My socks were sticking to my feet, and had a bad case, nearly a terminal case of athlete's feet, and I needed fresh socks and a change of underwear. And I asked Sergeant Wendell's permission to go to the dead man's pile. If you needed a helmet or a cartridge belt, you could go to the dead man's pile, as it was called, and retrieve this.
We had a Sergeant Anderson, I think his name was, and he was running for the hole, and his Jap was shooting at him with a Nambu or a machine gun, and you could see the bullets coming up, and he was running around the hole, but he didn't want to stop long enough to dive in. He was afraid he'd get shot, you know. And we were in there laughing, like we tell him, dive in, and the round would go past, and finally he got it in, but later on he got killed.
Without the flamethrower tanks, I really feel that it would have cost us a lot more lives. We could have taken the island, you know, but it would have cost a lot more lives. The small flamethrower tanks, you know, that the guys carry on their back, they may last 30 seconds. Ours would last about 3 minutes with a steady burst, but being mobile, we could come in and burn off a ridge.
What came down usually was very elaborate, but it ended up going straight ahead as far as you could go. Sometimes it was yards, sometimes it was more. And until you started taking casualties so hard that you just had to stop. And then they reevaluate the situation.
There are so many gulfs that separate a veteran's experiences from those who haven't been there, that it's often difficult for them to know how to bridge the gulf.
You'd be surprised. You can't even think about this type of situation until you're faced with it. But then when you're faced with it, then you say, you just take it for, this is a part of what we're doing. You either get killed or you get, you stay alive. And a lot of them were killed. Even when you pass them stacked up like that, you just don't think too much about it.
Personal friend of mine, Edward Tucker from Detroit, Michigan, was wounded on the beach and went aboard a hospital ship for several days, insisted on returning, came back to the island, and lost his life at Hill 362A. Before we got there one day, we were talking and about survival. Would we make it if we went into combat? And I kind of had a feeling I always would, but Tucker said he wouldn't make it. And I said, oh, bullshit, you don't know what you're talking about. He says, wait and see, Tatum, wait and see.
Lesniak was one of my fire team leaders. He was helping a communications guy string wire, and he bought it.
Let's see, Hannes was killed, Sheldon Calhoun was killed, Neil Strawberry was killed, and Arthur Chris was killed, and I think another one, 6 out of our 11.
Last one was this young man named Middlebrooks, who was a combat correspondent finally, and he was carrying ammunition up to the front line troops, and he got a direct hit. I met his mother. She came out and saw me after the war. She was a nice lady.
Although you never really got too close to too many people because you didn't allow yourself to. I have one fellow that I did, Ed Gallagher. He later became a Catholic priest. We were a team. We functioned as a team. We never had to speak to each other. We both knew what the other was going to do.
I tried to see all of my people's family, or at least call them, but some of them weren't interested. They didn't want to hear about it.
I realized that Chapman had been moody and brooding over something all morning. And I didn't realize what it was at the time, but now I do. It was because of his buddy being killed the day before, and he knew it. Chapman stood up one time to check for himself on what's going on around, and that's when they got him right under the front of the helmet. And of course, his body fell and his head fell within 6 inches of my knee. And those are rugged times. Because I thought a lot of Chapman.
Deep down, you're just concerned about surviving. Am I going to get it tomorrow? Jack got it today. Mac got it yesterday. When is my turn coming up?
He was leaning against me, and I said, well, let's go. And he didn't move, and I stood up. And when I stood up, he rolled off, and his head was laying to one side. He stuck his head out, got his head blown off. And all I could do was started running. And when I was running, I was urinating and defecating at the same time running. You know, just, I mean, see, you can't believe it. If you weren't there, you couldn't believe it. It's very hard, even to tell you this right now. This happened.
You have to erase it from your mind and go on, because dwelling over it would only deteriorate your performance later.
I think you all each had your own private thoughts, and you kept mulling it over in your mind, that this can happen to any one of us at any particular time.
Front line, you're in danger because they're firing on the front line. And then you got the danger in the back from mortar shells and the artillery. But there seems to be a little place between the front and the back. There seems to be like a little safety zone there that's not getting anything. And I saw Colonel Butler there. And I thought, damn, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? He knows where to be. And I thought, well, made you feel a little proud because, hey, I ain't got a dummy that's running this outfit. I got somebody who knows what's going on, you know. But then later he got killed, so even though he was a very smart colonel, his smartness had nothing to do with it.
I weighed about 150 pounds, 6'2". That's probably what saved me, you know, because I was so thin I could get closer to the ground than some of the guys.
We had a guy by the name of Hayes, and he jumped in beside me one day, and he said, he had a little bit of a speech impediment. He says, Kearns, he says, what I'm going to do after the war is be a farmer. He says, because the ground is taking care of me so long, I'm going to start taking care of it.
Hello, I'm Tricia Bowman here with Aileen Byrne, and this is NJN's March Pledge Drive. We need your support if we are going to continue bringing you the kinds of programs that you are accustomed to seeing on NJN. If you are accustomed to seeing those programs and you like them, then please give us a call now at 1-800-722-6588 and tell our operators you want to make a pledge. Your membership in the NJN family will guarantee you another year's worth of variety and quality in your television viewing. Again, the number is 1-800-722-6588. And we're not only talking about national programming here on NJN, but we're also talking about local programming. And Aileen, we have a lot of great things on NJN. One of the new shows that NJN is producing is Due Process. So if you're interested in law in New Jersey, here's a program that you can tune in and watch. And you're not going to find it anywhere else. You're not going to find it on another PBS station. You're only going to find it here on NJN. So that's something that not only do we offer you as far as being just a member of PBS, of NJN PBS, but you also become a member and get to enjoy all those quality programs that we produce here. And we couldn't do it without your money.
Yeah, it's very interesting, yeah. And you get it right in your own state. And
That's
talking from lawyers from New Jersey, I guess, right? Very, very good, very interesting. So become our partner as we invest in New Jersey's future. NJN's commitment to educational television and to the state of New Jersey is an investment now that will help bring about great things later. Show your New Jersey pride and make a pledge to NJN right now at 1-800-722-6588. Who knows? Some of the young kids that might be watching Due Process now will decide to become a great lawyer in the future.
There you go. Or they could be watching New Jersey Inc., which is also another new show that is up, which is about business in New Jersey. So if maybe you're just, you're not a lawyer, you're just like a normal person sitting at home watching TV, but you live in the state and you're interested in business matters, then here's a show for you too. And it's, of course, produced locally here at NJN. Now, when you pledge, we have lots of great gifts for you. Of course, the greatest gift of all is another year of the quality commercial-free programming. The number to call is 1-800-722-6588. We need to hear from you. And we'd love to send you one of our thank you gifts if you give us a call to become a member. Make your choice for NJN. Give us a call right now. A volunteer is waiting to hear from you. The number is 1-800-722-6588. And of course, you can see the number on your screen. We're going to keep telling you that phone number over and over and over again so that it makes you want to give us a call to support NJN. And we do thank you.
Absolutely, we sure do. You can call at any time, right?
That's right.
That's right. And now, it's a good time of year to call, I think, because spring is coming and, you know, we're kind of, you know, starting over again, doing some new things, you know, re-pledging, re-giving, or giving for the first time. So as the flowers are blooming, you can be picking up your phone saying, this is what I want to do for the new year. Public television is a partnership that includes over 5 million families nationwide. Public television is the only source of commercial-free quality programming that reaches everyone who has a TV, which is virtually everyone probably. When you support NJN, you're giving yourself another year of PBS programming like Mystery and The Frugal Gourmet, as well as NJN's great local programs like Discover New Jersey and Due Process, what we were just talking about. And, you know, it's not just PBS, it's NJN. And it's important to know that it's not just saying, okay, I watch PBS, so maybe I'll give some money to like Channel 13. Well, this is NJN, this is different. And this is, you know, Due Process, and this is the great news that you get for New Jersey every single day with our reporters going out there and producing it right here in New Jersey. And that's what you want to give to. These kinds of programs can't happen without your help. Public television is based on people coming together to support a cause. NJN needs you to become a member today. Pick up the phone and join us. We're waiting to hear from you. So call anytime, right?
Certainly. And you had mentioned, Aileen, about Discover New Jersey, and of course that is very close to my heart because I work here at NJN and I work on Discover New Jersey, which is NJN's travel magazine show. And we have a lot of fun doing it. Not only do I enjoy producing the show, but I enjoy going out there and seeing things in New Jersey. And it always amazes me, and it shouldn't amaze me because I do it every day and I've lived in the state almost my entire life. I've actually lived in California for a couple of years, and trust me, New Jersey is a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Maybe not a lot warmer in November and December and January, but we have a lot of great things, and I get a chance to go out and discover those every single day. And it always amazes me, the variety across the state, and of course that variety is reflected in our programming here at NJN. We know that many of our viewers may be taping this program or have taped programs in the past, and even though we offer many of these shows as premiums, we don't mind that you're taping them. We're honored, in a sense, that we air the types of programs that people feel are important enough to keep. But if you stop and think about it, this fine program and others like it would have never made it into your video library had we not aired them. And have you asked yourself what something like that is worth? What we're asking you for is just a basic pledge of $40 for an entire year. Literally pennies a day. And by doing that, you receive a year's worth of the program guide and the NJN member card. We cannot continue to air specials like this one if we don't have the support of our viewers. The cost of acquiring and producing shows of this caliber, they don't come cheap. So if you feel that you've benefited from the NJN's diverse commercial-free programming, please do the responsible thing by giving us a call at 1-800-722-6588. And remember, every pledge counts, whether it's $40 at the basic membership or you're feeling extremely generous and you're pledging $100 to get that extra premium gift of something that may have interested you. I know from experience, I've had people call me and say, oh, I saw this program on NJN and I want to tape it again. When's it airing? And I said, well, you know, we couldn't afford to bring it back. So it's coming back, you know, at a later date. And they say, oh, well, you know, I wish I had known. And I said, well, are you a member of NJN? And they say, well, you know, no. And I say, well, then you got to call. You got to call the number on your screen, 1-800-722-6588. Become a member. Give us those membership dollars so we can afford to bring back those programs sooner and also to produce the quality programs that we do locally. So please remember that and please give us a call.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Tricia. I guess we never realize, you know, what we want until we get it, or sometimes until it's too late. And so you want to get a head start, and you want to be a member so you'll know what you're going to have, what you're going to get in the future. And it's more than just wonderful television. We're a social leader working for positive change throughout New Jersey. Town meetings on education, technology, and solutions to violence in our schools are a part of our commitment to the citizens of New Jersey. The quality of life in our state is important to everyone who lives and works here, of course. It's important to us as well. So please call now. Your membership commitment helps NJN to continue to develop programs that matter, shows that make a difference. The number to call is 1-800-722-6588, and you can make a difference. We need your support now if we're able to meet our goals for this pledge drive. So give us a call. You know, we're not getting the money that we used to get, or, you know, it goes up and down depending on how the economy is going, and if we're not getting as much money from the state, and so many different people we go to and companies, but you are the single biggest, you know, resource for you know, for us, and that's what we're asking for.
And
right?
the viewers, they have been really great. I know I've been here over the years, and I've seen, you know, we always do little memos out throughout the departments, and how much are we doing well, and I would actually like to take this chance to personally, myself, I think, and I speak for the whole network, that we like to say thank you for those that in the past have called within the last year, and maybe some of those people that called in last year or the year before and they didn't call in last year, well, your membership has lapsed. Remember, it's only good for a year, so please give us a call in again. Now, when you call in with your pledge of $40 or more, we'd like to say thank you with a very special gift. We know you don't call in just to get the gifts, but we like to give them to you anyway as our way of saying thanks. We have all kinds of gifts relating to the show you're enjoying today, as well as other gifts for other shows. Just ask our volunteers about the gifts that you can receive at different pledge levels. And when you pledge, you're making great shows possible, and we really do appreciate it. Give us a call right now and tell our volunteers which gift you like to receive. So we have gifts at all different types of levels. So if you want to give a call, if you want to pledge for $50, we have a special gift for that, or $100, or whatever you actually feel comfortable giving. That would be really great. And also remember, if you're a senior citizen out there watching, or you're a student here in the state, you get a discounted rate of $24 for the entire year. Remember, that gets you the membership card. You get discounts. You get the monthly guide. You get more than just NJN programming, which you can't get more than that. 1-800-722-6588. Please give us a call.
This is an NJN News Weekend Update.
Disturbing news tonight for some Ocean County residents. Federal officials say they're looking for the cause of an apparent cancer hot zone. A published report says the childhood cancer rate in Toms River is nearly 50% higher than the statewide average. Some possible causes: ground contamination or electromagnetic fields. Steve Forbes' campaign said today the millionaire publisher might soon get out of the race if Bob Dole embraces serious tax reforms. An aide said Forbes is looking for some sort of recognition of his role in the campaign. A truce could come within 3 weeks. Meantime, the candidate continues to stump today in Florida. Politicians looking for big campaign dollars may only have to look at zip codes. The most lucrative zip code for campaign money in New Jersey, 08540 in Princeton. In New York, it's 10021, the Upper East Side in Manhattan. Both areas are on the nation's top 50 list of large political contributions. The weather tonight, clear and cold, lows in the teens. Tomorrow, sunny and warmer with highs in the 40s. Join us weeknights.
This is NJN, the New Jersey Channel. WNJS, Camden.
By the time of Iwo Jima, the Japanese had had ample experience with American material superiority, with American fighting techniques. The garrison was resigned. They knew they were going to die. That once you have an invasion, there's no way of stopping an invasion. Once the Marines are ashore, the best you can do is to kill as many of them before you die yourself.
The Japanese soldier said death is as light as a feather, but duty heavier than a mountain.
That's a tough soldier. He didn't care for his life. Anybody that didn't care for his life, who would come up to you like, nah, I didn't experience this on Guadalcanal, but it's a true story, with 2 grenades under their arms and surrender and do that and blow himself up with you.
Having a bit of the language ability, we tried to get people to come out, talk to them in their language, and Kozan Zayo, which means please surrender. Most of them would not. They would throw grenades at you, or if they thought that you were getting too close in beside, they'd blow themselves up.
This is how they were, you know. You couldn't dishonor your family or your country. If you did, the only way you could rectify it is commit suicide in whatever method you chose. They were tough.
They were past masters at the spider traps, the foxholes, the bunkers, snipers. They were good at it. Spider traps, a hole in the ground where they have it covered over with something that looks like the terrain. You walk past it, and they pop out of it and shoot you in the back. That's why we had dogs with us, and they could sniff them out.
A Japanese captain who was, quote, captured, and every day for 33 years, this captain went to this lady's house. He knew her son who was killed. The son hadn't committed suicide. He'd take off his shoes, he'd bow and ask her forgiveness for him having surrendered. And I don't think that lady has forgiven him yet.
They were good, disciplined fighters, but if you killed their leader, they were lost. Not much interaction as a unit. That was their downfall, I think.
At that time, we thought of them as dirty Japs, and that was a popular expression. That attitude was ameliorated somewhat when I actually interrogated the prisoners. As you learn that, yes, indeed, they are human beings. They have feelings and emotions. They do indeed cry.
At one time, I went down into a bunker just to see how brave I was. And there was a Jap lying on the floor in this bunker. And he looked, they always say they, play dead or play possum or whatever. But I couldn't bring myself to shoot that dead Jap, whatever it was, and I turned around and got the hell out of there as fast as I could.
I saw a dead Japanese soldier, and his wallet was sticking out of his pocket. So I went up and I took his wallet out because I wanted to see if I could find a souvenir. And I did. He had a picture of his mother and father and his wife and baby. I put it back in his wallet, put it back in his pocket. At the time I said, this guy is trying to kill me, and we're trying to kill him. I don't even know him. He doesn't even know me. I wonder, really, why we're doing this. Now, that shows you that I'm not a combat soldier. That instant always stuck with me ever since, and how I felt about it. It was a sad thing, even then.
I grew up with Japanese as friends, and I liked them. And I'm told I'm supposed to fight them. Well, that's what my country says, and that's what I tried to do.
No, I have no hatred. No, I have no hatred for the Japanese whatsoever. No, I had no hate then for them.
I don't think we knew what hate was. It was more a battle of survival.
In my squad of 6, I was the only one not hit by enemy fire. Everyone else was wounded. We had 2 killed in action and 3 wounded.
I remember seeing one fellow in our outfit who came in with, his eye was all shot up. It was ruined, his right eye. And I told the corpsman that surely his brain was destroyed by the bullet. We shipped him on back, and I saw him 10 years later at a Marine reunion. He walked up to me with a patch over his eye, and I said, "Don, you're not supposed to be here, you're dead." And he said the bullet, it so struck the bony structure, probably along the periphery of the orbit that it went through his eye and ricocheted back out. And he said, I heard every word you said. He said, I heard you tell those corpsmen I was going to die. He said, I was stunned. I couldn't talk. I was in shock. And I heard you tell that corpsman, give me that damn needle and I'll get that plasma started.
Bravest men I ever saw were the United States Navy corpsmen that was supplied or was attached to each Marine company. And even though they were in the Navy, we considered them Marines.
You would push off in the morning, and you'd almost immediately throw your weapon away because you had no use for your weapon because you couldn't use it because there were so many casualties that you worked constantly.
3 of them won the Congressional Medal of Honor for their actions, and many of them, almost every one of them was decorated, and probably over 50% of them lost their lives. And these were really angels of mercy. These guys weren't doctors, but they did miracles with people on Iwo Jima.
And most of the time, you would be called by a Marine who would say, my buddy's over there, you know, and they would be in cover and you would not be in cover.
And this rifleman called me over there and he said, look, he said, I see some Japs. And I said, where? And I'm looking down his arm, you know, our helmets side by side, and he's pointing and I'm looking down his arm, and just as I see him, he gets shot right in the forehead, right underneath his helmet. I called the corpsman to come over and he says he's gone. And then the corpsman kind of slid down and sat with his back against the rock, and he was crying, but there was no tears in his eyes, and he just said, I can't go on. He said, I can't look at any more wounded. I can't see anybody else killed. And I kind of put my hand or shoulder around him and tried to comfort him from that standpoint. Somebody hollered, corpsman, corpsman, and he grabbed his medical pouch and got up and went over and worked on another guy.
Down deep, I didn't want to be there. I wish the hell I'd have been anywhere else but there. But I never felt like, you know, getting out of it. Because when your friends are there, you're going to be there. That's what it is.
The bones to his lower leg were protruding. And I remember this little short corpsman came down and just straddled him because he was thrashing around in the sand, and bandaged and probably tourniquet put on, and that was the most, I suppose, vivid scene that has stayed with me for years and years and years.
This is where you're put to the test. Either you go out there, or what do? You know, do you say, well, I'm not going to go out there and take care of that guy, but you did. And I was just, God or somebody watched out for me.
Never give orders. If you want to tell somebody to do something, if you're his boss, whisper. Don't let anybody see you giving an order, because you're asking for trouble. That's why so many officers, you know, giving orders, man, platoon leaders were a dime a dozen. They just didn't last, period.
One of the problems we had with my outfit, we lost all our officers like the 3rd day. We didn't have any officers left.
Nobody went unscathed, no company or anything. They were, I think the damage was probably equal almost across the line.
When you start to get down to your NCOs and your non-commissioned officers, that is, when you get down to those people and you get down to when your company commander is a corporal or a PFC, you don't have any leadership then. And you don't have any leadership when you're in combat. You're in real trouble then.
I think the tables kind of turned. I have an awful lot of respect for these fellows that were enlisted men. I saw a tremendous amount of heroism, and I don't claim to be a hero myself at all.
I was finally a squad leader because there wasn't anyone left. They're all gone. But I had a truck driver. I had 2 truck drivers and a cook. And one of the other guys, I don't know if it was Berkowitz or not, that was my squad. Private, you know, PVT, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid.
A shell came in. I'm sure it was a mortar shell. And when the smoke cleared, my 2 buddies, both replacements, were dead. I didn't know it was a hit. It knocked me flat, and I got up, and then my knee buckled, and then I realized something was wrong. And that's when I left the island.
when I got hit, you know, I'd only been on the island about 2 hours. The first thing that ran through my mind is, so this is a heck of a note. Here I've trained, you know, for 2 years to do this, and I'm not able to do anything.
That's the night the ACAC or shell fragment or something came down and went in this knee here and out here. But the next morning they took me on a Jeep and down to the beach, and I was off of there.
We landed on Iwo, our company, with 18 tanks and a few in reserve. We brought one original tank back. Actually, we lost relatively small amount of men per equipment loss. Our whole tank crew, Pop Beckley, Dale Ewing, my assistant driver from Denver, Colorado, Lupton, Colorado, I'll correct that, and Floyd, the gunner from Tennessee, and Thompson, the loader, all of us came back.
We would come under a severe mortar attack, and one of them got real near me. And the concussion of it kind of knocked me silly. And later on, we ran into more mortar attacks. All of a sudden, I realized the platoon has left. The company's left. And here I am sitting on a rock out there kind of in the open. And I'm thinking about that time, the hell with the war, the hell with the Japanese, the hell with the whole thing. And then I remembered that, first off, the Marine Corps would shoot you if you were a deserter. And if I stayed any longer, I was going to probably get killed by a Jap. So I went looking for the company. And out of some of the rocks there came Sergeant Wendell. And he found me and took a hold of me and said, "Come on," he said, "you're going to be all right." And took me back to where the company was hidden in the rocks there. And later on that afternoon, he came over and told me that I was out of there, that he was sending Tremulous and I back out of action.
I spent 1 year and 1 month in various naval hospitals until I was discharged in 1946. Yeah.
Corporal Tremulous and I, as we came back across the island, we could see the changes in the few weeks, the 2 weeks or so. And as we got near, they were making roads and building airports and flattening land and building buildings, and the Seabees were working their construction magic, converting Iwo Jima into a forward base for the attack on Japan.
But after we captured it, it became the emergency landing fields for the B-29s that had been hit over Japan. There were 2,251 emergency landings made on Iwo Jima, and they estimate that this saved the lives of almost 25,000 Air Corps crewmen.
My recollection was that we were probably one of the first 10 planes that landed there, you know. The only really out we had was Iwo Jima, you know, for the rest of the war. I don't know if I'd be here. Probably ditch. And I don't know what the odds are. I never could figure it out, but I don't think they were that great. It's very hard to locate somebody in the Pacific.
They chose the 16th of March to say the battle was ended, so to speak. The island was secured. Well, this was a misnomer because the biggest battles we had on Iwo Jima came after the 16th of March.
Matter of fact, they showed up even a year later. They were finding them coming out of the caves.
We had our ceremony at the cemetery, which was impressive. We didn't have a band, I don't think, but someone made a speech and we stood at attention. And I'm sure that we had taps before we left the cemetery. I picked up sand off of Chapman's grave to bring home to his mother and sister.
I was hurt in a freak accident and broke my arm. Turned out to be the finest broken arm was ever given to a man. They sent me home on January 6th of 1946. I was discharged from the service before the first man in my company got off of Iwo Jima.
Well, after the island was secured, the Marines left. And then the Army came in and took over. When the 9th of October came, 1945, I was real emotional. I was leaving these fellas, you know. I had been with these fellows all this time, and here I was, the only one leaving by myself. This guy, John G., you might have his, he was my best buddy. And there were days I would duck him. I wouldn't want to be around him. I wouldn't want to be around the other fellows. I didn't even do the thing right. I didn't go around and tell everybody that I didn't know what to say to them. You know, you think all this time I'll be glad when the war's over. I'll be so happy, but you're not happy. I mean, you're glad to get away, but you're not happy. You're real sad, you know, about everything. So that.
We have more of this wonderful program, so please stay tuned. I'm Tricia Bowman here with Aileen Byrne, and we need you to become a member right now, so please give us a call. Support NJN and make another year of quality programming possible. NJN needs you more than ever, and if you're someone who appreciates our news and public affairs, our how-to shows and cooking shows, our entertainment programs, well, let's face it, if you love the variety on NJN, then you should pick up the phone and give us a call to say, yes, I love it and I want to become a member. 1-800-722-6588, and make your pledge to become a member right now. Do it within the break so you don't miss any of the show, right, Aileen?
That's a good idea. Absolutely. Let's get rolling, get off the couch and go to that phone, or it's probably right even next to you. So just pick it up. Becoming a member of NJN is like becoming a part of the staff, because really you help produce this great variety of programming and you help make it accessible to people all over New Jersey and beyond. You help teachers teach New Jersey's children and help New Jersey's voters become more informed. So join the family. Call us now at 1-800-722-6588 and become a member today. And Trish, it's really is an extended family too, right? People outside of New Jersey get
Yes,
NJN.
we actually air in parts of New York, parts of Pennsylvania, Delaware, across the whole state of New Jersey. So that's right. You are an extended member of the family. When you become a member, we'd like to thank you with a very special gift, no matter what state you're watching us from. Our operators have all of the information on membership and on the gifts. It's our way of saying thank you for taking a few moments of your time and sharing your support with us. Please give us a call at 1-800-722-6588. Basic membership is $40 here at NJN, and with that you're going to receive the guide, which tells you all about the programming for the month. You'll receive you'll receive those throughout the year, and of course the NJN member card. So you get discounts. So on top of just $40, you're going to actually save money. And if you use the member card a couple of times throughout the year, it actually pays for itself becoming a member of NJN. So there's a deal that you just can't beat. Trust me, right?
Absolutely.
You can trust me.
I can trust you.
I wouldn't lie.
And we can trust them to call us and make a pledge, right? Especially since we've made it so easy for you to pledge. There really is no excuse not to. It only takes a minute, and you won't miss a second of your favorite program if you call right now. Of course, you can call later on. We're always here to take your calls and answer your questions. Just call the number on your screen, and one of our volunteers will ask you a few simple questions: your name, your address, your phone number, and the amount of your pledge. That's it. It's as simple as that. But of course, you can talk as long as you want and find out what you get and what you need to pledge to get something even better, or whatever you know. Ask any questions you'd like. Pledges start as low as $40, as Tricia said. And if you're a student or a senior citizen, basic membership is only $24 for the entire year. That's it. It's not only painless and quick, but it will make you feel good. It'll make you feel better about yourself, because you know you'll be doing it for a good reason. You'll become an active part of making NJN possible. You'll be part of our team. You'll be making us stronger. So don't delay another minute. Call now at 1-800-722-6588. And as I was saying earlier, you'll be like a program manager, wouldn't you say, Trish?
Well, in a sense, yeah, because when you call in with the membership dollars, people tell us, you know, what programs that they like, and then of course we send that to the programming department, and then people, hopefully those programs will be looked at more carefully, maybe bought again, maybe more frequently. So if you do give us a call and you want to tell us what you like, then of course we'd be happy to note that and to let the appropriate person who can actually do something here about it to do that. So when you give us a call at 1-800-722-6588, one of our volunteers will be taking your name and your number and your address and the amount that you pledge and the gift that you would like. We will then send you the pledge form in the mail asking you to write a check and send it back in. It's a very easy process. But if you'd like to skip one of those steps, namely having us mail you that and then you writing us a check and then you sending us the check and, hey, save 32 cents, we have a way for you to do that. All you have to do is just put it on your credit card. So that's when you're calling the 800 number, which of course is no fee to you, it's a fee to us to take that call, then put on your credit card. You don't have to worry about it. The membership dollars will go faster to work for NJN, and you don't have to worry about waiting in the mail for the enrollment card and then sending it back in and writing the check and noting it on your ledger that you wrote a check to NJN for $40 or $50 or $100. You don't have to do that. Just give us the number over the phone, and it goes to work immediately. And there's no check to write out. There's nothing to send back. You just make the call, and then you hang up the call, and then you know that you are right away a member of NJN. It's quick, it's easy, and it's for a very good cause. Call us at 1-800-722-6588 and tell our volunteers you want to support NJN right now. Become a member of NJN by putting the pledge on your credit card. It's that simple, it's that easy. Please give us a call. The number is 1-800-722-6588. It's an easy number. We've said it enough times. I'm sure everybody here has it committed to memory.
That's
so
right.
hopefully they are, and they're giving us a call. And hey, if you want to put it on your redial,
that's
you
right.
Keep calling in and pledging.
Program it, right? You have your 10 most important numbers on there.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Three
sure
times a year you can just hit this one.
They're probably not going to do that, but heck, I just thought I'd mention it.
Why not?
Why
Throw
not?
it out there.
It's an idea.
Absolutely. It's funny that you said, you know, about putting it on your credit card instead of mailing things back and forth, save 32 cents. It sounds like crazy to think about saving 32 cents. You wouldn't even...
Hey, it's a phone call.
But yeah, but it's less, I think it's like less than 11 cents a day to become a member of NJN. So, you know...
So you actually had 3 days.
Yeah, you actually...
With that 32 cents, you had almost 3 days of NJN programming.
If you break this down, it's practically free. It's unbelievable what you get for what you give. The programs you're enjoying today were made possible by viewers, and you are one of those viewers. So have you called in your pledge yet? You don't expect to get phone service for free, right? Or the gas or electric that you have in your home. Why should NJN be any different? We're here for you 365 days a year, providing you with the best in quality programming. In England, there's a tax on everyone's television set, which pays for this kind of programming. Here in America, we don't have a tax. We're on the honor system, so we're giving you this wonderful programming, and we're hoping that you will be honorable and do your part by making a pledge now. 1-800-722-6588. If you don't want to hear the number again, pick up the phone, call us, hang up, and then you don't have to listen to us.
Right. Well, something like that. I'm sure that when you're watching this program, because you're loving this program, that's why you're watching us today,
Right.
that we're going to come back and you're going to say, Tricia, I already made the phone call. I listened to you. I made the phone call. And I'm sorry that if you had made the phone call and you're seeing me again, hey, take a break, go get a drink. This is your time to go do that. If you've already made your pledge, if you haven't made your pledge, then please, on your way to pick up that drink in the kitchen, I know there's a phone in the kitchen. There's a phone in my kitchen, so make that call. We've made it so easy for you to pledge. Really, there's no excuse to do it. And if that was your excuse, I'm not going to buy it, okay? Just call the number on your screen and talk to one of our volunteers. We have a wide array of terrific gifts that our volunteers can tell you about. Pledges can start as low as $40, and we take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. So if you put on your Discover card, I think at the end of the year, you're actually going to be getting back some change. So there's another way to save. Put it on your Discover card, or if you're like me and you just want to put on your Visa, go ahead. Give us a call. Don't delay another minute. Give us a call right now at 1-800-722-6588.
Yeah, not everyone takes Discover, right?
Not everyone does, but we do.
That's right.
We don't discriminate against any credit card.
We don't discriminate against any credit cards or any viewers. Everybody's allowed to watch. Do you know someone who enjoys the programming of NJN as much as you do? This is kind of what I was just joking about. If you want, you can give them a unique gift. Consider giving a membership to NJN in their name. The recipient of your gift will receive the same benefits as any member. A full year's worth of the NJN program guide, access to our members-only hotline, and the NJN membership card, which Trish was talking about before. It entitles them to discounts at art and cultural institutions throughout the state. This is the kind of gift that keeps giving for an entire year. So it's great. If you donate at the appropriate level, they'll also receive one of the great thank you gifts that you've probably gotten in the past and that we'll be talking about later and we've mentioned earlier as well. It's a thoughtful, creative gift for anyone who appreciates the diversity of television programming that you appreciate. So it's a great idea. Give us a call at 1-800-722-6588. Thanks very much.
It seemed like all the guys that we left on Iwo in the cemetery were the best men, the best fighters out of all of us. Us humbums came back.
So I kind of resent, and I guess I shouldn't, but I kind of resent at patriotic gatherings whenever things they paid the final supreme sacrifice. They did. Then damn it, give them a medal for it and give their families something for it, not just $10,000. Hell, we made it cheap. A life was worth $10,000. But I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it just, if you lived through it, you did something wrong.
There were those looking for the $1 million wound and some who maybe didn't function like they could have or should have, but we all danced to a different drummer.
You know, in the First World War, we had shell shock. In the Second World War, we had combat fatigue, and now they have some kind of in Vietnam, they had some kind of a syndrome, but I think we all suffered some of that, but some of us were more affected than others by it.
We had a term we called the bulkhead stare. That's the way I felt. I think that's self-explanatory. Nothing bothered you. You didn't care about anything, and you didn't want to think about anything.
It happened so fast, you don't have time to think. It would scare you to death. Any ordinary human being would panic or be frightened to death. Of course, we went into this gradually, and this happened every day, so you could lie down or sit down beside a dead Japanese and eat your lunch, if you had any lunch.
And I was very fortunate to come home, you know, in a whole person. I don't feel that my mind was warped or anything like that. Might be, but I don't think so. It's more of an adjustment to be made coming out of a situation like that than going into it.
If I go back, I'd like to go back on my own and deal with my own devils. The devils are in you. You know the things you did there. You know the things you tried to do. Some things you didn't do. You sometimes question, maybe I could have done this differently. I could have done it better.
I think you get about half crazy because you want to get out there and kill them. And the younger you are, the better you are. Because as you get older, you get to thinking about that.
I did collect a tobacco sack full of gold teeth because they were famous for that, you know, having gold teeth. And I collected a sack full of those. If that's a gruesome thing, but I think that's an indication of how ruthless you let yourself become and how you don't care. You don't really consider them as humans. It's a hard thing to explain. I couldn't do that. I don't think if I were a mortician I could do that at the present time.
Well, I had one boy on Bougainville. He collected ears. That's a terrible thing. We all know that. And he carried clear through it on Guam and kept collecting ears until finally the old man, the CO, heard about it, made him dig a big 6-foot pit and bury them.
Our gunner was an old paratrooper, and sort of, well, he was a little bit nuts, if you pardon the expression. He would open up with a machine gun and laugh, you know. He just, there he goes, ha ha ha, and
That was the last man-to-man, hand-to-hand combat per se, gladiator type battle. Small land warfare. Okinawa was big land warfare. This was man-to-man, hand-to-hand.
There are times when people have said to me, John, which division were you in? And I have to say I wasn't. I was seagoing. I never got on the beach. I had the comfort of being aboard a battleship.
It was a rainy afternoon, and we're making the push, and raining, and we stopped, and I was soaking wet. I was cold, and even though it was on the island and everything, I looked over at this one draw, and I seen a poncho covering a body, and I went over there and I picked that poncho up, and there was this dead Marine about my size and everything, and he was as dry as a bone.
It's hell, but you get used to it. You still didn't like the Japanese, but the dead Marines were just something that was there.
I took his socks, his shorts, his T-shirt, his underpants, you know, his pants. The only thing I left on him was his blouse, because that had his name and serial number on it, and I kept my blouse, but I changed clothes with him completely, and I redressed him, and I put the poncho back over, and I said, good Lord, forgive me, but I was dry.
I think I've talked more here than I have. I don't think my daughter has ever heard me talk, you know, about my experiences. She's never heard that.
You're making me say things that, you know, you're bringing back more things, and not that I'm ashamed to say them. It's over and done with. That's about it.
You know, you can look to the Marine Corps Memorial, more popularly known as the Iwo Jima Memorial, and you can stand up on Memorial Day and say, yes, this is, you know, a tribute we need to make. But for most Americans, it's remote and abstract. It's something that they don't understand. It's not tangible. By seeing veterans talking about their experiences, by seeing them relive the emotions, by seeing them wrestle with the demons that they still have, I think the service of this kind of documentary is to turn something that is an abstraction into a more concrete reality for other Americans.
But we left the LST in the morning, and they hoisted me over the side in one of those wire baskets. Didn't see each other again for years. I was attending a business function down in San Diego, 72, I think. And we checked into the Hilton rather late at night. I had the family with me, and in the lobby there were signs around Reunion 5th Marine Division. Well, that was my division, and my wife said, hey, maybe you'll find some of your buddies. And I said, no, there's none of them left. Next morning, I left the room about 7:30, stepped out into the hallway. He comes out of his door directly across the hall. And he looks at me, 25 years have elapsed. And he looked at me and he said, where the hell have you been? I've been looking for you.
My wife and I have been married 45 years, and I love this lady and everything else. But there's a relationship with these men that I served with at that time there. It's a different thing altogether, not taken away from them or not taken away from my wife.
But we got back together, and I look at this guy, and I still see him as a 18-year-old kid that nothing ever bothered. He was always happy, cheerful, and when the chips were down, he was there.
I just feel, you know, that since I was fortunate enough not to be wounded in any way, and I went on out, left with my own power, that every day since then is a gift.
I come because there are guys that I remember that were 18, 19 years old that had a dedication, that had a feeling about what we have. And I get rejuvenated when I see guys like this. I'm profoundly grateful to be here. And you're the reason for it.
Yeah, we've been great friends ever since.
How much do I owe you?
$5 yet.
You need to understand that, you know, we're now at a point where a college freshman is born after the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War is sort of old history. I mean, you know, that's going back for a college student now. And that World War II sort of can be lumped together with, you know, Napoleon and the Peloponnesian War. I mean, you know, that for the young people coming of age, the Iwo Jima experience is even more remote. And for those who have been there now, 50 years later, who are, you know, approaching their 70s now, even the youngest ones from that time, as they see their numbers thinning at each reunion, there's still that need to be recognized and, again, to find some ways of communicating some aspects of what was important to them about their experiences.
You know, everywhere you go, you say, were you in the service in the Pacific? Oh, yeah. Were you a Marine? Yeah. What division? Oh, 4th, 5th. Oh, right then, you're buddies. Well, retired Major Bob Hoskin was with the 4th Marine. I was playing in the golf tournament, and we got together, and he says, you know, I've been back to Iwo Jima, and we're going to go again on the 40th. Would you like to go? Sure, that'd be great. And we met with all that was left of the Japanese survivors and their families. And it was quite a meeting. All those combat Marines that had felt very bitter really lost a lot of that bitterness when they realized that their counterparts, what was left of them, wasn't very many. Because their casualty list was tremendous. They lost probably 90+% of all their people.
Somebody would say right now, for all my mementos and all my memories, I'll give you $50 million, you give them to me, and you know, forget about them. I wouldn't take it. It's something that I went through. It belongs to me and nobody else.
If you want to talk about a tearful moment, when they played taps for everybody. And they had a Marine bugler. He did a wonderful job. There wasn't a dry eye. And we found out one thing, that when the Japanese soldier friend died, he cried like we did. They were just people. We didn't think so at that time. But, you know, 40 years later, you kind of soften a little bit in your attitude.
I wouldn't want to do it again, but I'll never forget it.
You know, you think that you get over the trauma of the situation, but you really don't. You talk with your old friends who had their experiences, and you're casual about it, but there are moments when you remember your friends that were killed, never got their chance in life. It's bad.
One of the problems is that veterans often feel they can only talk to each other. Only another veteran, only another guy who's on Iwo Jima is going to understand what it was really like. That's true. But if you're restricted to that, it's going to be a pretty lonely island as, you know, as those veterans, those Iwo Jima veterans dwindle in numbers.
I have tentatively planned to go to the Return to Iwo Jima reunion next February or March. And I have mixed emotions about that. But I think I would like to go back.